Jack Spade back here with you, High Noon Leather Works, for another leather adventure. And today we're going to do a little custom project for a friend or for a holiday gift. And it could be a bottle of wine, it could be a bottle of bourbon, it could be a bottle of water, it could be anything. But what you would give as a gift or take as a housewarming gift. And we're going to make, this is the pattern I made, and we're going to make that out of leather, and we're going to do some laser engraving on this. So come on in and let's get started. Alright, so I just used some stuff I had laying around to make this pattern, the curves, and a bottle to make the circle to fit around the neck of the wine bottle. But it is actually the full length. This one is 6.5 inches by 2.25 inches wide. So again, just arbitrarily made this, no specific reason for those sizes. I've got my leather set up on the laser engraver. It is, I did moisten it down a little bit. It seems to do a lot better if I case it first instead of trying to do it with it dry, because you don't get that burnt smell as bad. So we're going to go ahead and send it to the machine and let's see what happens. Again, I picked up this machine off of Amazon, around $250, I believe it is. I think it's a 5-watt laser engraver. The brand is Two Trees, and it does a really nice job on wood, leather, and that's the main reason I got it, was the leather. But I'll also show you a piece that I did on some soft wood for a gun case that I'm building. As that's doing its thing, I'll show you. There's a piece that I did on it, and it did a super nice job. And the more I use it, obviously the more in tune I get with it as far as the speed, you know, like how deep do I want that. I was going awful light at first, so it was just burning the very top surface. This one is down in there pretty good, so that turned out really good. They say it'll do metal, plastic, leather, wood. So I haven't tried any metal yet, but I do want to try that. I want to see how that works. Just playing around with it and doing some experimenting on the wood that I just showed you. I had it slowed down so slow at one point that it actually burnt the top surface of this marble tile. So I mean, it's a pretty strong laser. So what I'm doing is I've got a JPEG piece of artwork here that says "Friends make life better." So I just wanted to try this out, see if I could make one, and obviously I'll give this to some of my friends. So alright, so it already engraved the leather. It's done. It didn't take very long. There's the finished product of the engraving. and you can definitely feel that in there. And wipe that excess burnt leather off of there. But it did a nice job. I guess I can take my laser safety glasses off. And yeah, that did a real nice job. So let's take it over to the work table and cut it out with our pattern, and we'll go from there. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I want this part where it says friends make life better, I want that to hang down in that area. So I'll take my pattern, lay it on there where I want it, and then I'm just lightly going around my pattern, and you can see that gives you a real good idea of what that's going to look like. So I'll go ahead, take my razor knife, and I'm going to cut just inside that line. I don't really want any of that line showing. And my beveling tool will take any of the remaining part of that ink of that line off of there. Then I'll cut it up the other direction and get these pieces off of here. Then I can go ahead and do my radius. And again, I like to keep my knife in the same angle and just rotate my workpiece. So there's my radius there. I'll come to the other side and the other end. Again, I just cut until I'm starting to get uncomfortable at the angle, and then I just turn my piece so that when I'm cutting a radius, my angle's always comfortable to my arm and my wrist. So there's the bottom piece. Then I need to cut out this hole. I'm going to take a look and see on my rounding punches. I want to see, I've got one right here that'll fit perfect. So what I'll do is I'll punch half of it so I don't have to cut it by hand. It'll be definitely more perfect than if I cut it by hand. And I'm using a poly cutting board. And then all I do is rotate it and put those marks right on the opposite side. And you see that pop right out. So that gives me a really nice circle. So we can test fit that. A lot quicker than cutting it out by hand. So we'll take our bottle of wine here, set that on there, and there's what it looks like. So the next thing I'm going to do, turns out, looks like it's going to turn out really well. I'm going to take a small beveler and just hit the front side. I'm not crazy about hitting the other side. I don't want to get too much time in this. Something quick and simple. But what that'll do is that'll clean that up a little bit too on the front side, make it look a lot nicer. And then I'm going to go ahead, and when I used my punch from the front side, that kind of beveled it for me on the circle part. So the next thing I'll do is go ahead and get me a piece of cardboard that I use for dyeing, and I'm going to dye this piece. I'm going to dye it tan, which is in this Fibings tan. Seems to be like a lighter brown color. Make sure I get me a couple of gloves. I normally do that before I even open the bottle. I'm not like getting this dye on, because it has to wear off. This stuff is good and it will stay on your skin. Looks like I got a couple of new bottles over there that I haven't opened yet. So let's take a little wool dauber. I'm going over the area that was engraved. Make sure I get the inside. I'm really curious to see what this, as it dries, I want to see what this tan color does on the engraved part. Looks like I have just a little bit left in there. I'll save it. And it looks like it's going to be great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a cloth. And these are just lint-free, throwaway white cloths that you buy in a box. And I'm just going to buff that while it's still moist. You can see it's not taking hardly any of the dye off of there. And that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to take the dye off. On the back side, the rough side, it will take some of the dye off, but what I want to do is just kind of buff that up a little bit. Now I'm not pressing hard, just lightly buffing. So here's what it looks like at this point. You can see it does have a little sheen to it if you catch it in the light. And the engraving part turned out really well. could have went a little lighter. I'm gonna let that sit and dry, and as it becomes drier, it should lighten up some too. So we'll come back, take a look at it as soon as it dries out. All right, so what we did was let it dry a little bit. It did lighten up some. I probably should have went with just a little bit lighter shade of dye, but it turned out pretty good. Definitely easy to read. You can read that on there no problem, and it's gonna stay there because it's engraved into that leather. So it did buff out real nice and shiny, and I put it on here on the bottle while it was still a little moist from the dye, and that allowed it to fit over the bottle. Now take a look at it. It's more shaped to fit on the bottle instead of just sticking straight out. Now it fits to where it hangs down. So it'd make a nice gift. Bottle of wine, bourbon, whatever. You could do happy holidays, whatever you wanted to do. So just a quick little project on the laser engraver for leather, and you can make this out of scraps easy enough. All right, another quick project in the books. This is going to lighten up even more, I can tell. You can see it right here where the longer it sits, the more it's lightening up. So a lot of it has to do with the lighting, but it's definitely going to lighten up more, so it's going to turn out pretty good. So I'm happy with it. I appreciate you coming along, sharing this time with me. Please come next week, check out the next video. We'll do something totally different. And as I always say, please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.